united progressive.
Come and make the right choice.
The united.
We gon' make the right choice.
The united.
Come let's make the right choice.
The
right choice. UPP ready to run the country. Sustainable growth and opportunity. UPP the right choice for we. The right choice. We the right choice. We vote. If you love Antigua, if you love Barbuda, UPP is the right choice for we. Vote for integrity, accountability, transparency. We are the right choice. If you want a better nation, UPP. More schools for education, UPP. Agricultural expansion, UPP. That's the UPP intention. Get vote for UPP and make the right choice. Vote for UPP, showing stability. Vote for UPP if you love your country. Vote. This is the urgency of now. The United Progressive Party. Time for out the fire, the ALP. How we are uplift the youth them and create more jobs in the country. Yeah. The right team, the right mindset, and character to get the job done. Yeah. Senior citizens, no worry, no fret. Brighter days are gonna come your way, don't forget. United all my people, we gon' stand up. Vote. Progressive thinking people have to move up. Vote for integrity, accountability, transparency. Vote for the right choice. Raise your finger for the right choice. Let we vote. Raise your finger for the right choice. Vote, let we vote. Raise your finger, make the right choice. Right choice. UPP are the right choice for you and me. Hey, if you love Antigua, if you love Barbuda, UPP are the right choice for we. To fix the economy, more stability. UPP are the right choice for we. Social development, youth empowerment. UPP are the right choice for we. So who you gonna vote for them? So who you gonna vote for? UPP are the right choice for we. The United Progressive Party. Them are the one, them are the right choice for economic recovery and stability. Them know how to run the country. Too long now, people can't see no upliftment. A time blue team run parliament with social enhancement and development. More infrastructure for technology. Blue team, UPP are the right choice for we. Aye, we have a leader with a Black Panther, a dynamic team with a fresh agenda. No more dictatorship, just good leadership. We lead the country in a prosperity and bring development to every community. Blue team, you know them are the right choice for with them. Build a new airport and hospital for with free meals for the students of the country. Let we vote, UPP are the right choice for we. Let we vote, UPP are the right choice for we. Let we vote, let we vote now. The UPP, vote the right choice. Vote the honesty. Vote the right choice. Vote integrity. Vote the right choice. Vote opportunity. Vote the right choice. P the right choice. P the right choice. P the right choice. Are the right choice. Are the right choice. Vote for the right choice.
The United Progressive Party. The right choice. The United Progressive
Come and make the right choice.
The United.
We gon' make the right choice.
The United.
Come let's make the right choice.
The
right choice. You ready?
The man is a warrior, we are proud of him. From Christian Hill, Sherfield Boyne, never buckle under pressure, he never give in. The mantra he sing, I was born to win. A man of the people always, so humble, so brave. They could never stop him, will go down in history. Call Parliament on the Bethesda Tambren Street. The man is a warrior. Warrior. We'll always rise. Freedom fighter. A man of faith, a man of steel. Sure feel the real deal. make the comparison, and when you conclude, Boeing and Western, Boeing you go choose. It's an easy decision, like chalk to trees. The veteran Boeing always in the lead, and Western so cantankerous. He course like crocus. The African proverb sure feels so neatly fit. Speak softly and carry a big stick. The man is a warrior. Warrior will always rise. This freedom fighter. St. Philip South we vote in. Boeing we know him. Our rich community, respect to restore. Our heritage, they dump and ignore. The school up in Bethesda, abandoned just so. Look at Half Moon Bay, nothing to show. Incompetence in every way. Now I hear they plan to sell Willoughby Bay. From Freetown we army, stretch to Piccadilly. We go vote for someone to defend our legacy. The man is a warrior. Warrior will always rise. This freedom fighter, a man of faith, a man of steel. Sure feel the real deal. Western grunt, Western squeal. Sure feel the real deal. St. Philip South, it's time to heal. Sure feel the real deal. Man of faith, a man of steel. Sure feel the real deal. Sure feel the real deal.
Antigua, oh my Barbuda, please, Jesus, please, please deliver our we from this evil labor party. Oh my Antigua, oh my Barbuda, please, Jesus, please, please deliver our we. Hear this so humble plea.
Country. Man, enough is enough. No more of the trickery. Them fool us enough. They don't care nothing about me. Only friend and family. The nation is balling. We can't take it no more.
It made it abundantly clear that no one, absolutely no one in our country will be vaccinated if they do not wish to be. We uphold that right and respect it.
You hear lie? That is lie. Lie? You hear lie?
Are you ready? Are you ready? Beautiful people, are you ready to get off your feet and release that blue energy? We'll move to the front of the class and throw your hands up in the air for The Right Rhythm. The Right Rhythm, a weekly musical experience featuring Antigua and Barbuda's top DJs. 2 hours of musical entertainment every Friday night from 8 p.m. on UPP, YouTube TV, and streamed live on all media platforms, as well as Progressive 107.3 FM. It's The Right Rhythm, brought to you by the United Progressive Party. The right choice.
It's time to join the family at the People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. We offer savings accounts, deposits, fixed deposits, loans, among other related services. You can even become a shareholder by purchasing a minimum of 50 shares at $5 per share. Membership is super easy and convenient. Just visit our newly opened credit union building on Upper Newgate Street, Monday to Fridays, 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. with proof of ID and address, along with $15 to cover registration and passbook. And you'll be set and on your way. For further information, call 462-8888 or 727-2285. People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Today, tomorrow, together.
I just feel like people not understand me. I don't want to even give me a chance. Go to school, my hard skill. I'm a hard worker, but there's just not enough jobs out there. The economy is so bad that I'm ashamed to say that we're in the year 2022 and water hardly won near the pipe. Now them can't tell how we, in order to get a job, I must take the job. I understand the vaccine is a good thing and all that, but I just hate the fact that it's mandated. It's my body, it's my choice. I shouldn't be denied a job, education, or benefits because the choices I make for my body. For me, this time, personally, the UPP is the right choice because they are the party of choice.
UPP TV presents The Right Choice, a show created to highlight the candidates of the United Progressive Party and their ideas and plans for the future. Here's your host for The Right Choice, Dr. Jackie Quinn.
Good evening and welcome to UPP TV and welcome to the 4th edition of The Right Choice. As you know, The Right Choice brings you up close and personal with all of the candidates of the United Progressive Party. We share a slice of their lives, their motivations, their plans, their vision for Antigua and Barbuda and for the constituencies they intend to represent. The Right Choice shares with you the very quintessence of all of our UPP prospective MPs as they ready themselves for service in their communities and in the nation of Antigua and Barbuda. Now, you can join us on all of our media platforms. UPP TV, on Progressive 107.3 FM, on my UPP Facebook page, and of course on YouTube. Now, this evening, you might have heard a little bit of the music. This is a very exciting night because we have a very special man in the house, an extraordinary man, a brilliant man, a statesman to the core, our political leader, the captain of this team, the next Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Mr. Harold Lovell. And allow me to just share a little bit of his accomplishments and the intellectual heft of this man. Harold Lovell has been involved in national politics for nearly all of his life. He has served in the highest levels of government. He was a senior cabinet minister for 10 years of the United Progressive Party. He served with distinction in two of the most important ministries, tourism and finance. He's a statesman. He's a leader. He's an attorney at law. He's a teacher as well, a geologist, an intellectual, yes. And so I want to welcome you, Brother Harold Lovell, to The Right Choice. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much. I'm really happy to hear that. I mean, I'm really looking forward to tonight.
Yes.
You know, I've seen the other programs, and I just think that what you've been doing is just fantastic, so I'm so happy to be here.
Okay. So, Harold, tell us a little about yourself.
I have this for you. My father died when I was just 5 years old. My mother came from Willikie's village. She had 5 young mouths to feed, and she toiled on her sewing machine to make ends meet. She was a strong woman who taught us right from wrong. And even though she struggled, the choices she made put us on the right path. I made the choice to work hard, play by the rules, and get an education. I had a number of opportunities, but I chose to return to Antigua and inspire the next generation. I taught at the Antigua Grammar School, and it's here that I saw firsthand how education transforms lives. I made the choice to get into politics because of the lack of resources that I saw in our schools. I saw how our teachers and families struggled, whilst an elite few got ahead. When the people granted us the opportunity to serve in government, we had a lot of work to do. As Minister of Finance, I helped to clean up the rot of 30 years of one-party rule. We saw our country through the global financial crisis and the Stanford collapse. Through all of that, we introduced the school meals program, the school uniform program, and laptops for children. While we were not perfect, no one is perfect but Almighty God. We worked day in and day out to defend the nation and put people first. Today I see too many families struggling for a lack of jobs and the mental stress that comes with it. The cost of living is out of control, and for too many of us, water is still not readily available. And our needed pension checks are not coming on time. While the elite few did well, the ABLP denied you the right to choose what you put in your body. Whilst we believe in vaccines, we don't believe it's the responsibility of government to control your bodies. We will bring an end to all the mandates. This election is about choice, and we believe that we are the right choice because we give you the choice.
This is The Right Choice, and we're speaking tonight with Brother Harold Lovell, Esquire, the candidate for St. John City East constituency, the political leader of the United Progressive Party, and of course, the next Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda. Now remember, you can join us on all of the media platforms, and we want you to put in your questions, send in your comments, so that at the end of the show, we will have a segment, at least 10 to 15 minutes at the end of the show, to share some of your comments and some of your questions. And of course, Brother Lovell will be willing to answer some of those questions. Now, Brother Lovell, you've spent most of your life in the political arena. And I want you to just cast your mind back and to tell us what would have prompted you? I mean, you were in teaching, you're an attorney, you're an accomplished man with a lot of intellect, a lot to offer to the nation. Why politics?
Well, I got into politics as politics in terms of elective politics after my experience in teaching
Yes.
I saw what parents had to go through. I saw what teachers had to go through. I saw the lack of resources. And that got me into politics as politics. However, before that, at the Antigua Grammar School, the students got together when the headmaster was transferred. And at the time, we had a students' council. It was not only the Grammar School Students' Council, of which I was the chairman, but we also had the United Students' Council, which brought together all 13 secondary schools in Antigua. And I was the president of the United Students' Council. So we organized the protest march, and that really fired me up and got me into it. My mother was very political. She was actually the founding president of the Women's Action Group for the Antigua Labour Party.
Wow.
And so she was always very political. So
you're in a political household.
I was in a political
yes.
household. So it was in my blood, you could say, in my DNA.
Yes. And leadership was also in your blood, because from those days at the Antigua Grammar School, activism and standing up for your rights, that was part of your DNA as well.
Absolutely. I hate to see, as Antigua would say, I hate to see ugly, I hate to see advantage. And you will get me fired up wherever you find that. And I can say that from those days, going into even as a teacher, I was the general secretary of the Antigua and Barbuda Union of Teachers. And, you know, that also had its own history, because a group of us, myself, Adlai Carrot, Chaku, Simister, Evelyn Davis, Claxton, Vincent Benjamin, many of us. We were protesting when they removed Juno Samuel from teaching. At that time, we saw it as an act of victimization. We picketed the Ministry of Economic Development, where he had been transferred to, and we also picketed the Ministry of Education. Well, that was it. And they came with the chalks and they threw us in the chalk, and then they suspended us, put us on 20% of our pay, and that started a whole roller coaster. Yeah. But before that, you may want to know, I worked at the Antigua Public Utilities Authority. That was actually my first job.
Really?
And I was actually teaching just on a voluntary basis at the grammar school and at the state college.
Yes.
I got involved in the formation of what was then a union called the Public Utilities Transport and General Workers Union. And within a matter of, I think, 14 days, I was called in, and I was given a letter with a check, and the letter told me,
hold off.
That's it.
Stop your activism.
Your services are no longer required. So that's how then I just transferred into teaching full-time.
Right.
Because before I was doing it on a voluntary basis, because they didn't have a geography teacher either at the state college or at the grammar school. So I was teaching, just helping out, you know.
Right.
So after they sort of threw me out of APOA, because I worked in the underground water department, because, you know, my first degree is in geology and geography.
Right.
So I worked in the underground water department, which was very interesting. And then that was a short stint. Then I went into teaching.
So it has been for a long time that you have been feared.
Well, however you want to put it. But the point is, you know, wherever I see injustice, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to speak out.
Right. And so tell us, Brother Lovell, your transition from teaching, from utilities, geology, to teaching, to the political arena, to law. Tell us about, because that required quite a lot of study.
Yes.
And quite a lot of, you know, putting your mind to your academic work.
Well, yes. After I lost my job as a teacher, because after we were put on 20% of our pay, and as I say, interdicted or suspended, we remained out for a while. We were taken to court because when we picketed, we were charged with watching and besetting the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Economic Development. And we went to the court and we won our case. They threw it out, but they did not reinstate us. And instead, on the 1st of January, 1979, I can never forget that, I was sitting down with my family and a police car pulled up with a letter, and they gave me the letter and told me that they were going to retire me in the public interest. At that time, I was 23 years old.
Oh, dear me. At 23, you're going to be...
I was retired in the public interest.
Yes. Yes. Tell us about that teacher struggle, because that was a seminal moment in the history of Antigua and Barbuda, where you would have fought for the rights of teachers and the right of your headmaster and for students' rights, actually.
Right. Well, there was a student issue. That was when Jacobs was transferred.
That's right.
And so we had demonstrations, and, Don Charles and, what's his name, Franklin Henry, Hugh Henry, a lot of us. Colin Murdoch was in there also. And we stood up as the Students' Council. Now, we're talking about the teachers. This is after I'd come back from Jamaica, and I was now a teacher. Now, what happened was that the teachers' union had, at this time, started to agitate for better conditions, also the right to negotiate on behalf of workers, because up until then, you had no representational rights. And also, there were a number of rules. For example, if a female teacher became pregnant, she had to leave the service. But the male teacher, if he were to get someone pregnant, he could stay in the service.
Very discriminatory.
And we fought against things like that. So the government of the day decided that they were going to pull Juno Samuel out because he was the president. And the teachers stood up. And we decided to pick it, and that's what really happened. So that began a whole process that lasted about a year, because after the demonstrations and after we were fired, then the focus of the struggle changed to the reinstatement of the teachers. It was 9 of us who had been fired. And so when we stood up, there was another incident where the parents came together with the teachers. And that was the end of January 1979. And we went up to the office of the then Prime Minister because the cabinet was in session. And they brought down this big truck they used to call Kong. And that truck, was full of the riot squad and everybody. And they came down and they cornered us down on Market Street. At that time, we were up by where the cricket board, West Indies Cricket Board, have their office, the greenhouse on the hill.
Yes, yes.
Right, so we came down there. At that time, you had a place called Princess Elizabeth Hall.
Yes, I remember
where you now
that.
have the archives.
That's right.
And we came down there, went into town, and then on Market Street now, they identified 3 of us. They identified Radcliffe Robbins, who was also there, Chaku Simister, and myself. And so they ran after us. Chaku went down into the Grays Green community. Robbins went up into Otters. I unfortunately ran into a shop on Market Street down by Market Square. I think the shop is still there. I think it's called Sylvester something.
Yes.
Sells furniture and stuff like that. So I made my way into the shop and went behind a couch.
Oh dear.
So I'm there behind the couch.
They caught you?
And this officer just came in, just scraped me up, grabbed me by the back of my trousers, and he frog marched me right down Market Street to the police station.
Yes, yes.
So they kept me down at the police station overnight. Meanwhile, they went looking for Robbins and Chaku. So they caught Robbins and Chaku the next day. They turned themselves in, and we were taken to the magistrate's court, and we were denied bail. So they took us up to the prison.
Yeah.
So that was an experience in itself, because
How long did you spend?
Well, I spent 7 days, and I spent 10, and Chaku spent 14. Robbins and myself, we spent 10 days. Chaku spent 14 days, 2 weeks. And that in itself was an experience, because we were held in this little cell, and there were no facilities in the cell.
Wow.
So you had to do what you had to do in a butter tin. The butter tin was a little bigger than this. The old-time butter tin.
Yes, yes.
And you had to do everything you had to do as a human being.
Oh.
And the 3 of us had to share that. So
Wow.
that in itself was something. But
Dehumanizing.
that had a lot of interesting features too, because even when we checked into the prison, I didn't even know when you check in, you have to strip naked as you're born. And we refused. We said, no way, we're not going to do that.
Wow.
So that in itself created another issue. And I believe that helped to stop that practice. I don't think it still continues, but we said, no, we're not going to do that. And that in itself was a very interesting experience, and part of that whole struggle to bring the teachers union to a point of recognition. And eventually, I think it was in about 1983, a law was passed which gave not only teachers union, but all public service unions, representational rights. But it came with a struggle, came with a fight.
Yeah. And what about the support of your family at this time? You said in your biopic you grew up with a family of women, all sisters.
Oh, yes.
And you were the only man. And they have taken you out of the only man out of the family and cast him in jail. You know.
Well, my family has always been very supportive. I have to say that I am very, very grateful. My family has always been very supportive at all levels. When I was growing up, my mother, as you know, was, as I indicated, you know, as we say in Antigua, was a strong-bred woman. You know,
That's shocking to me.
She was, you know, big in the women's arm. But after this thing with the teachers' union, she shifted, and she came over on my side. And so I ran for the first time in elections in 1980. And she was actually one of my polling agents in 1980.
Great, great, great. We're going to come back and we're going to talk some more about family and some more about your growing up and your studies and so on, and your activism, because I like that side of you, that no retreat, no surrender side of you. We're going to take a short break. Please remember to send in your comments and your questions. You are watching UPP TV with political leader, Brother Harold Lovell.
UPP intention, get born for UPP and make the right
choice. I feel like people not understand me. I don't want to even give me a chance. Go to school, my hard skill. I'm a hard worker, but there's just not enough jobs out there. The economy is so bad that I'm ashamed to say that we're in the year 2022 and water hardly one near the pipe. Now them can't tell how we, in order to get a job, I must take the job. I understand the vaccine is a good thing and all that, but I just hate the fact that it's mandated. It's my body, it's my choice. I shouldn't be denied a job, education, or benefits because the choices I make for my body. For me, this time, personally, the UPP is the right choice because they are the party of choice.
It's time to join the family at the People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. We offer savings accounts, deposits, fixed deposits, loans, among other related services. You can even become a shareholder by purchasing a minimum of 50 shares at $5 per share. Membership is super easy and convenient. Just visit our newly opened credit union building on Upper Newgate Street, Monday to Fridays, 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. with proof of ID and address, along with $15 to cover registration and passbook. And you'll be set and on your way. For further information, call 462-8888 or 727-2285. People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Today, tomorrow, together.
And the right choice. Remember, you can join us on all of our social media platforms. Progressive 107.3 FM, the My UPP Facebook page, and of course on My UPP TV. We are talking with a very special man, a statesman, an attorney at law, an intellectual, the candidate for St. John City East, and of course, the next Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Brother Harold Lovell. Brother Lovell, when we took the break, we were talking about the support that you have from family. And one of the things that I noted in your biopic was the strong women, all of the strong women around you, and the support that you would have gotten from them through every stage of your career.
Yes.
In law, in teaching, in jail, and in politics. If you can speak to the fact that you had all of this strong support.
Yes. Yeah, I've been very lucky. My mother was a very strong woman. I have to tell you that. My mother was a strong woman.
Yes.
I mean, she accomplished a great deal. Woman from Willie Keys, came into town, learned her trade as a seamstress, and she knew how to really work that machine to feed all of us. And she was very successful in the sense that she was able to build us a home, send everybody off to university, and she was, as I said, very political in the way she thought, and that was a very important aspect. I joined the ACLM when I was 15 years old, and that didn't please her because, you know, following Tim Hector, as she would say, and she was, you know, a disciple of V.C. Bird.
Right.
So that, you know, allowed us to have some very interesting interactions, but there was always the love, very deep love, coming from my mom and all my sisters. And then, of course, you know, after I married, I had the full support of my wife, Joanne. She was always there for me and gave me full backup in all my endeavors politically, serving in the City East branch in the early period when I returned and things like that. But when I ran in 1980, I ran under the banner of the Antigua Caribbean Liberation Movement, the ACLM.
I see. And the fact that you have been surrounded by these strong, accomplished women tells me that you have that gender sensitivity. You have a respect for women. And that is something that I think all leaders should have.
Well, for sure. I mean, I was about to say I love women, but then you might take it the wrong way. You see? What I would say is that having grown up with 4 sisters and a mother, because my father died when I was 5 years old.
Yes.
So having grown up with, surrounded by sisters and a mother, that I think was one of the biggest privileges any man could enjoy. And I'm so happy because up to this day, all my sisters, you know, very, very supportive.
Now, Brother Lovell, I have had the honor and privilege of working with you and witnessed firsthand your sterling leadership capacity and your competence. And you've always been a statesman, very analytical, very visionary in your thinking. What would you say are the main qualities of a good political leader?
There are a couple of things. One, a leader must have good judgment. I think that's very important. A leader must have good judgment. A leader must be able to weigh individuals, persons, personalities, situations, events, and be able to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. Politics is the art of the possible, and therefore you have to know what's possible, and you have to be prepared to push for what is possible. And we've always seen, and certainly I believe, that it is possible for us to do much better in Antigua. I believe it is possible for the United Progressive Party to give a better deal to the people who live in this country. I think it is possible. And politics is the art of the possible, and a leader must have good judgment. Also, a leader must listen. A leader must listen, and you listen, and don't just listen to contradict. Listen to learn, because you can learn from everybody. And a leader should not be intimidated by the opinions of others. So when you listen, you must take on board what you listen. You mustn't feel because it's a position that's different to yours that you have to find a way to cut it down. And the third feature, I would say perhaps, is a leader must first of all commit himself to service. So I believe in servant leadership. I believe a leader must be a servant of the people, not a master of the people. And so strong leadership, in my view, is leadership that listens, leadership that recognizes that in every individual there is worth and there's value and there's something that you can listen and learn from. You know, it's so important. You learn from so many people. I mean, it was Tim Hector, I remember, who once made the point, and it has stayed with me ever since. The ordinary man and woman, especially when you see the stevedores, because he used to play dominoes on Newgate Street, and I used to drive him because he didn't drive. And he used to say, you know, these people, when you hear them analyze cricket, the condition of the wicket, the team, and the analysis, you know, these are intelligent, bright people who've just not been given the opportunity.
That's right.
And when you see how they do the domino, they play domino and the strategy and so on. And that allowed me to recognize that everybody has that capacity to teach And we as leaders must develop the capacity to learn.
Wow, excellent. Now, you are a very accomplished man, Brother Lovell, with lots of accolades nationally, regionally, internationally. What would you single out as your proudest achievement?
Proudest achievement, I would say, well, there are two, personal and political.
Yes.
The first one, I would say, has to do with when I was in England, and I had to really go at the bar exams. You know, that was a real tester. And with a young family, and I had to hold down 2 jobs in addition to reading for the bar.
Yeah.
And I worked as a cleaner with Ambassador Cleaning Services, cleaning offices in central London. And I have to thank Mr. Ken Hurst, who helped me to get that job as a cleaner, cleaning offices. In fact, I cleaned some of the offices right there at the Inns of Court where I was studying. I also had a job as a sub-warden at a homeless shelter in Shepherd's Bush. And that in itself was also very interesting, because you had people coming from Nigeria, there were some from Jamaica, Trinidad, a couple of guys from England, and these were generally youngsters who either had run-ins with the law or whatever. But that in itself was very interesting. But one thing that I remember very distinctly, you see, when you did the overnight shift on the weekend as a sub-warden, you had to cook.
Yes.
So every Sunday now you have to cook for about 30 or 40 people. Now, poor me can hardly cook for myself. So they put me now to go cook for these 40 people. They never asked me if I could cook. So I'm now cooking up this big baked chicken. But I didn't realize that chicken gave off its own juices and oils and so on. So,
Right.
man, I put on a whole heap of cooking oil and so on it. So when it came out now, you have this quick chicken, greasy chicken. So when the guys went, the rice was okay, I have to tell you, the rice was okay. So when they went now and they're taking the food, man, they're watching TV in the TV room. I just see a stream coming back in the kitchen. I'll see a scrape. They're just scraping the food in the rubbish bin.
Oh, no.
So it wasn't a good experience, but I have never forgotten it.
And you have since learned. As we're talking about food, what's your favorite dish?
Ah, boy, favorite dish. I'm not really a foodie as such, but if I had to find a favorite dish, it would have to be somewhere between pepper pot and seasoned rice. But I have to put in
with pork.
Well, yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. I have to put in a proviso here. Many years ago, when Brother B had his restaurant, he used to cook a beef stew. And nobody has ever cooked a beef stew like what Brother B used to serve at Brother B's restaurant. I try to get a beef stew whenever it is offered on the menu. Yes. Nobody can touch that beef stew. So beef stew used to be a favorite of mine. But nowadays, because nobody has been able to replicate the kind of beef stew that Brother B did,
You'll settle for pepper pot.
I settled for the pepper pot.
Okay. What about your favorite genre of music? You love music and different genres.
I like different genres. But you see, whenever anybody asks me a question like that, I say, look, there are 2 types of music.
Yeah.
2 types. Good music and bad music. I like good music.
Right.
Good music can be any kind of music. I remember the first time I attended a concert for Charlie Pride in Leicester, England. Now, I'm not a country and western kind of person. It was never one of my areas that I was that interested in. But look, I went to this Charlie Pride concert. And with that concert, I mean, it was such a fantastic display of virtuoso.
Yes.
You know, he was just so good at his craft that I became converted to country and western. And I realized, look, you have good music and bad music. Country and western, if it's good, it's just good.
That's right.
I also had a chance to experience opera when I was working in Nottingham. And that's when I first started practicing as a lawyer. And so one of the members of Chambers invited me to an opera performance. Now, I always thought opera. So, out of politeness, I went. And it was Macbeth.
Okay.
Luckily, I studied Macbeth in school, so I
Yes.
could sort of follow the play.
That's
You
right.
know, but it was good, again, same thing. But coming down now, brass tacks. What type of music? I like what I have in my car. Lovers rock, soca, good reggae,
Dancehall.
calypso, a bit of dancehall, not so much of the modern stuff. I mean, somebody gave me some recently, the Movado, Alkaline, and all of these guys, right?
Yes.
And, you know, I play them, but I have to say, it's not really my style. Give me a Beres Hammond.
Yes. Or
Give me a-
Morgan Heritage.
Morgan Heritage.
Yes.
Give me a Morgan Heritage. Calypso, of course. You know, all our local
Yeah.
artists. I'm really into them. Soca, similarly. So I just like music, all kind of music.
You have a favorite artist?
A favorite artist, Bob Marley, without
Bob
a doubt.
Marley. Mm.
I have every single song, as far as I know, that Bob Marley has done. I have sometimes 4 and 5 versions of the same song. Like when he did Babylon by Bus, if he was doing live in Berlin, live at Hammersmith Odeon, in Jamaica, wherever. And I was lucky to have met him on 2 occasions in Jamaica.
Wow, excellent. Now, what 3 words, if you were to pick out 3 words out of the billions of words in the English dictionary, what 3 words would you use to describe yourself?
Spiritual. I'm a very spiritual person, and I communicate with the Father regularly, and the Father guides me. So I'm a spiritual person, and I had a very religious upbringing. Missing church was not an option. And so I can say that I have retained that. There was a time when I went away from it, and I became an atheist, and I rejected Christianity totally and so on. And then with time, I came back around, and today I can say I'm a very spiritual individual. I would say I'm compassionate. I'd like to consider myself to be a compassionate person. And so my heart goes out to people if there is a situation where people are in need or where people are suffering. And so that compassion is something that I would like to always keep in my political perspective. Compassion for the elderly, compassion for children in particular, compassion for those who do not have it and you can see suffering. Those things move me, those things touch my heart. So I would say, yes, spiritual, I would say compassion, and I would say the other feature would be I'm determined. I would say I'm a very determined person. When I set my mind on a goal, that's it. Yeah. I am going to pursue that goal. And so I was saying, for example, when I was doing the bar, it was difficult, you know, doing the 2 jobs, a young family,
yes,
having to wake up early in the morning with a young baby crying and going through that. And I set myself the goal of passing the bar first time around, and I succeeded in that. And I'm very, I feel good about that. And the other one that you would ask me about, which I said would be political, that would have to be the task that I undertook when the Right Honorable Baldwin Spencer called me in March of 2009. And he said to me that he would like me to become the Minister of Finance. Now, tourism was nice. I like tourism. In tourism, you only make friends. Tourism is a ministry where all you do is make friends. The opposite is finance.
Diplomacy.
The opposite is finance. All you do is make enemies.
Yes.
His enemies. I had a friend, he was the former minister from Canada, and we developed a friendship. And he told me they used to call him Dr. No. Because when you're Minister of Finance, if you don't know how to say no, you bankrupt the country. So yes, nobody likes to be told no. Yeah. And so I would say, being Minister of Finance in a very difficult period, when we had this collapse of Stanford, we had the collapse of British American, we had the global economic crisis, CLICO, and it was a very tough time. Yeah. And it required nerves of steel. And I would say, as Minister of Finance, and of course, with the help of my colleagues in cabinet, we had to take some tough decisions, but I was very happy that we were able to come out of that. And we came out of that ahead of the rest of the OECS with growth and placed the country on a solid footing. I'm very, very pleased and very proud.
And having not sent home a single public servant.
And kept all our social programs. And we also marked a turning point with the International Monetary Fund. Because if you notice, when the IMF dealt with Jamaica, when they dealt with Guyana and some of the other countries, there were serious issues. They sent home, you know, a lot of public servants went home. They cut pensions. They cut other benefits that people were getting and so on. But we came at a time when we were able to, first of all, we had a program we called Live and Direct. And we went around the country with ABS. And we explained the difficulties that we were having. And when we took the decision and we designed our program. And our program was designed locally. It was a homegrown program. And we got assistance from the technicians at the central bank. And we were able to do a lot of good stuff. And we got the money, we cleared it off. After 3 years, when the disbursements ended, it was a 3-year disbursement.
Right.
But the total program was 8 years. And that finished in 2018 under this administration. So I would say the personal and the political, those would have been the two main ones.
What would you say has required the greatest courage in your life?
I think it was taking some of those decisions during that difficult period.
Decisions, yes.
You know, because you know people are going to cuss you.
Yeah.
You know that what you're doing is for the national good.
They're still cussing you?
Up to now. You know it's for the national good. Yes. You know you have to do it, but you know it's not going to make you popular. And that takes some courage, because it's so much easier to just say yes and just go along, even though it's not in the national interest. So I would say having to take some of those tough decisions in the national interest, even though they were not popular decisions, it took courage.
Yes. What is one thing that I would never guess about Harold Lovell?
Well, when I was as a teenager, I took part in the junior calypso competition, and I got first runner-up.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
And I had 2 songs. Up to now, I still remember the lyrics for those 2 songs. I have a repertoire in all, I would say, of about 10 songs. Because when I was as a teenager, as I said, I participated and got first runner-up. Then I went off to Jamaica, and I sang in the hall concerts, and so they didn't have a calypso competition at that time at UWI in Jamaica. So we sang at Taylor Hall. They had a concert known as Countdown.
Yes.
So I
remember Countdown.
So I played pan, because I was playing pan in Superstars before. So when I went to Jamaica, I played with the University Steel Band and sang some calypsos as well. And then when I came back, and after I came back, and then went to England and came back, then we had the 1998 Calypso Explosion put on by the United Progressive Party. And we had some big names in there. We had Scorpion, we had Zakari, we had Kasiba, I think, was there. We had Elephant, and of course, locally, we had people like George Pickett. Can't remember what his name was now. I think you had George Pickett, you had Lionel Gums, he was Lord Observer. You had Von Walter, he was Barb Wire. And my name was I Redeemer.
Oh.
And I have to tell you, the winner of that competition was Scorpion.
Yes.
The first runner-up was Zakari. And I tied for second runner-up.
Second runner-up?
I tied with Douglas.
What?
Ready.
I Redeemer. Let's see I Redeemer.
Yeah, man. So anyway, that was something that you probably wouldn't have known.
Must be a vampire.
Hey, where you got that?
Turn it up.
Turn it up.
Everything inside. That's why we must stop the bloodsucker, awful and wicked monster. Cause he's sucking the young girls' virtue, even the young men too.
Oh yeah.
He likes the blood of this nation, but his thirst goes on and on and on and on. But now we facing the end, so you luck and not rise again. Baldwin, Spencer and Tim, I Redeemer looking for him. Get your stay, so you're not going to meet his fate.
What a thing. I redeem more. That's
Yeah, man. I haven't heard that like about 20 years.
Somebody dusted that off out of the archives.
Yeah, man.
Excellent.
Yes,
excellent.
yes. But that song had a little history to it, you know.
Yes,
that was the time when Dayton was coming, and we had some issues with Dayton, the Asian village, and so on at the time. And the song is really a parody on the then Prime Minister Lester Bird, as well as the whole Dayton thing. And if you only played the first verse, but I'm going to make sure I go back and listen to that.
Play a little bit more of it,
so I can hear the other verses. I think I had 3 verses to that, But if I may say so myself, it doesn't sound too bad.
First runner-up, that sound good.
No, I got second runner-up in that one.
Second runner-up with Douglas.
With Douglas, I tied with Douglas.
Okay. No, you have a mantra that every outing, every single outing, from your youth all the way in ACLM, UNDP, UPP, no retreat, no surrender. Tell us about the genesis of that. Why is that your mantra, and where did it come from?
Well, I would say it was a continuation of, my whole political life, where I felt that, as I said, I'm a determined person, and I'm not going to retreat easily, and I'm certainly not going to surrender easily. Basically, as old people say, you have to kill me. You have to kill me. Right? When you see me put my mind to something, you have to kill me. So, no retreat. It's a rallying cry. We're not going to back away. We're going forward. No surrender. It means, going down to the last man, last woman. I would say I adopted that around 1993.
Yes.
Just around the time when I started campaigning with the United Progressive Party. I would say that was when, and I've been using it ever since.
Right, and it's a great mantra. It's a good rallying cry, actually, for the troops.
Well, I know how to use forward and attack.
That's right. Okay, we're going to take our second break, and when we come back, we're going to drill down on your plans for the St. John City East constituency. Please stay with us.
Are the right choice for you and me. Hey, if you love Antigua, if you love Barbuda, UPP.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Beautiful people, are you ready to get off your feet and release that blue energy? We'll move to the front of the class and throw your hands up in the air for The Right Rhythm. The Right Rhythm, a weekly musical experience featuring Antigua and Barbuda's top DJs. 2 hours of musical entertainment every Friday night from 8 p.m. on UPP, YouTube TV, and streamed live on all media platforms, as well as Progressive 107.3 FM. It's The Right Rhythm, brought to you by the United Progressive Party. The right choice.
It's time to join the family at the People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. We offer savings accounts, deposits, fixed deposits, loans, among other related services. You can even become a shareholder by purchasing a minimum of 50 shares at $5 per share. Membership is super easy and convenient. Just visit our newly opened credit union building on Upper Newgate Street, Monday to Fridays, 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. with proof of ID and address, along with $15 to cover registration and passbook. And you'll be set and on your way. For further information, call 462-8888 or 727-2285. People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Today, tomorrow, together.
I just feel like people not understand me. I don't want to even give me a chance. Go to school, I have skill. I'm a hard worker, but there's just not enough jobs out there. The economy is so bad that I'm ashamed to say that we're in the year 2022 and water hardly one near the pipe. Now them can tell how we, in order to get a job, I must take the job. I understand the vaccine is a good thing and all that, but I just hate the fact that it's mandated. It's my body, it's my choice. I shouldn't be denied a job, education, or benefits because the choices I make for my body. For me, this time, personally, the UPP is the right choice because they are the party of choice.
A very interesting and lively conversation with our political leader and the candidate for St. John's City East. And we're now going to focus in this segment about the plans for his constituency. You have a pretty compact constituency, Brother Lovell, and you've been doing quite a lot of legwork, interacting with your constituents. What have you gleaned as the biggest issues, the major concerns facing the constituency of St. John's City East?
Right. Well, water is a big problem.
Yeah.
Water is a problem, and as you know, the United Progressive Party, we have an overall plan, which I hope I'll get a chance to mention, where we will be addressing that water problem very seriously. But water comes in the morning and then it's gone. And so it is inconvenient, especially when it doesn't even come like for 3-4 days. So water is a problem for many people. Youth unemployment is another major problem. And as far as what I would vision and hope to achieve for the constituency, seeing the talent that exists, I would love to be able to develop, in association with a new UPP administration, an incubator, a business incubator, which would be a place where young people would be able to get the type of assistance that they want, would be able to get their ideas developed, where we would create opportunities for them to get the money that's necessary for them to do the startups, for them to have someone to help them with their accounting, to help them with their marketing, basically to help many of these young people to get a good start, to give them a hand up, and to get them in that area, that zone, to succeed. And so the whole idea is to be able to create a group of successful young business people in Antigua, and in particular in the St. John's City East constituency. Job creation for those who do not want to go into entrepreneurship. Obviously, job creation is also very important. And so we would want to make sure that we can create the necessary livelihoods so that persons can get their jobs. But my project, my pet project that I want to see to fruition will be to continue what I started many years ago. And that is a multi-purpose community center. Now, during my term when I was the representative for the area, in 2006, we developed the first part of that overall plan for the development of that part of the constituency. And that was a basketball complex. And that was a promise that I had given to the constituents before I was elected. And I was so happy that the government, that we were able to place in the City East constituency a fully equipped basketball complex with changing rooms and with the facilities that are necessary, bathroom facilities, etc., a court, and everything that made it one of the best facilities for basketball anywhere in Antigua. The second part of that program was where I was able to get the field, the football field, in good condition. And I was able to acquire lights independent of government and to have lights placed on the field. The next stage would have been the fencing of the field. Well, we lost a government in 2014, and the no representative, he did the fencing. But the fencing that he did was not what we had envisioned. we had envisioned a fence that would have been of a high quality, durable. The fence that is there is really very flimsy and very cheaply done. So I expect that I will actually have to do over that fence. And then the next stage, which I had promised in 2014, will be the multi-purpose center. The plans have already been drawn. Everything is already in place. The center would also be accompanied by a seating facility, which would facilitate the football games when they're played. And so in that multi-purpose center, I see a hurricane shelter, I see a proper health facility, because you see we have a health clinic in City East in Gambles, but it's not properly ventilated, no air conditioning, it's hot, and it's ill-equipped. I would like the people of the constituency of St. John City East to enjoy a good clinic so that the mothers who are still nursing mothers, for pregnant women, for the elderly, for children, and for sick people generally, where they can go somewhere and be comfortable and feel as though they're in a modern country. So that's one of the aims that I have, to really place in this multi-purpose facility a good, properly equipped health clinic. We'd also have a meeting room so that I'll be able to have town hall meetings, meetings with constituents generally, and where sports groups would be able to have their regular meetings and would be able to recreate generally. So this is something that I really want to achieve. I placed it on my to-do list in 2014. Unfortunately, we were not elected, but next time around, we know that we're on the right track, and I'm going to be in a position to deliver to the people of St. John City East. There's another area that I would like to discuss, and that has to do with the issue of drainage, because we've had a drainage problem for a while.
Big time.
And whilst I was in government, we started with the Department of Environment to look at ways in which we would be able to mitigate the flood damage. And I remember, I think it was in 2009 or 10, there was severe flooding. And I spoke with the then still current director, Diane Black Lane.
I think it was Lenny.
No, it wasn't Lenny.
Was
Lenny was way back in 1999.
No, not Lenny.
Lenny, Hurricane Lenny.
No, not Lenny.
Not Lenny?
No,
Okay, I might be wrong.
Louis was
95.
95.
But anyway, be that as it may, we had a serious flooding problem. And I went and spoke with the folks over at the Department of Environment. And I was able to get the type of assistance that was needed. And they had identified 3 areas. One was West Palm Beach, down in Bowlands. One was in Cashew Hill, behind by the Antigua State College. And the other one was what's known as the McKinnon's Waterway, starting up by the Woods Center, the Woods Mall,
that little Woods
coming
Mall.
all the way through Upper Fort Road and going down into York. That's called the McKinnon's Waterway. And so we began with consultations which were held. We also began in terms of looking at how we would be able to fund it. And I have to say, the technicians at the Department of Environment did an amazing job. Of course, you remember that in 2008, the Honorable Baldwin Spencer at the time, he was elected as the chairman of China plus 70, the group of 77 plus China, which was a very prestigious post that he held. And he had selected climate change as his chosen area of interest, his platform, whilst he served as president of, or chairman of the group of 77 plus China. And Diane Black Lane was made an ambassador by the United Progressive Party. And we gave her the opportunity to really soar. And so she spent a lot of that year up in New York at the United Nations. And I have to say she didn't waste time, because she was able to find a number of sources, the Global Environment Fund, among others. And it took a long time. We had the consultations when we were in office, and we set out the initial plans when we were in office. Then the government changed, And it took them a while before they actually got the funding finalized. Once the funding was finalized, I see the project has started. My aim is to be able to complete that project. Right. It started in the inception, I am happy to say, was during the period of the United Progressive Party, and I played a pivotal role in getting that on the agenda. It has come to pass that the funds have come through, and they have been doing the work. I want to be in a position to complete that whenever the next elections come, and I am re-elected as the representative. I am going to be very happy to reassociate myself with that particular project, and also to go further, to be able to develop the community of St. John City East the way City East used to be. I mean, Gambles used to be a model community. During our term, we developed a situation where we named all the roads. Every single road in City East has a name. And I'm proud to say I know the name of every single road. And in doing so, we were able to identify, and even now, when people are registered, you can tell which road they live on. Some people just say, oh, Upper Fort Road, but you can tell the exact road. I want to go back, and we want to make sure that we have every road renamed, because since the new administration has come in, they have placed no importance at all on naming of the roads. And so we want to get back to cleaning the community, because that's another big issue in the community. And they will tell you that when the UPP was in office, and then when I was the representative, the community was very clean. And that's because of the system that we used, using a number of small contractors who in turn had people that they hired, and they worked in the community, not only in City East, but throughout the island. And I have to commend Mr. Lionel Michael. I think he did an excellent job, and we were able to keep that community really clean, spanking clean. I want us to return to that era where the City East community is a modern suburban community, where the streets are in good shape, where the community itself is kept clean and in a good sanitary condition, and where we can live in pride in that community, because it's very small.
Yes.
And so it can be a real model community for the country as a whole. Everybody can come and look and see in City East.
Yes.
This is a community that everybody regards as a model suburban community just outside the city of St. John's.
Yes. Now you spoke about, apart from the drainage and the bridges and so on from the Jeff Fund, what about the infrastructure, the general infrastructure in your constituency?
Yes. One of the main things, of course, was the bridges, as I said. And that started during our time, not started in terms of the actual physical work.
Yeah, but the funding.
But the conception of the idea.
Yeah.
The idea was conceived. And, you know, the Department of the Environment, they ran with it. They did an excellent job. And we are now seeing the fruits of their labor. We also have had a big problem in terms of many of the roads. And during my period, we were able to fix, I would say, 90% of the roads. And there are still a few that are to be fixed. And we feel that these are areas that we'll have to concentrate on. I'm very happy also that during my time, we built that pedestrian bridge just outside Princess Margaret School.
Right, I remember
because
that.
At the time when I was elected in 2004, that area outside of Princess Margaret School, the students used to come out of the gate, and they were all on the main road competing with the cars. And it was LMR who actually, he's from the constituency, and he's the one who actually called me aside and said, look, you need to build some sort of bridge, pedestrian bridge,
yes.
so that the school children can use that bridge. And I went about it, and I got some assistance from one of the service clubs. I got some assistance from 2 or 3 business places. And then Public Works, all Public Works had to do is to provide some of the actual labor and a few of the materials. But other than that, we were able to get the job done. I think Linton Mark had helped us at the time, and others who came up and made a contribution And it's still there today.
Yes.
So I'm very happy because my office is just opposite, and so I can see the children using that. And I know it was done for the reason that, it was an accident waiting to happen.
Exactly.
And that certainly removed or reduced the risk of somebody being knocked over by a car.
Now, we're going to take a short break, but I wanted to commend you while you were talking about the complex and the basketball court. I know that you have been very much involved with your football team and with your basketball team. So we're going to take a break, and you'll talk to us about that when we come back after the break. You're watching The Right Choice, and we're talking to the political leader of the United Progressive Party, Brother Harold Lovell.
Join the family at the People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. We offer savings accounts, deposits, fixed deposits, loans, among other related services. You can even become a shareholder by purchasing a minimum of 50 shares at $5 per share. Membership is super easy and convenient. Just visit our newly opened credit union building on Upper Newgate Street, Monday to Fridays, 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. with proof of ID and address, along with $15 to cover registration and passbook. And you'll be set and on your way. For further information, call 462-8888 or 727-2285. People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Today, tomorrow, together.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Beautiful people, are you ready to get off your feet and release that blue energy? Well, move to the front of the class and throw your hands up in the air for The Right Rhythm. The Right Rhythm, a weekly musical experience featuring Antigua and Barbuda's top DJs. 2 hours of musical entertainment every Friday night from 8 p.m. on UPP, YouTube TV, and streamed live on all media platforms, as well as Progressive 107.3 FM. It's The Right Rhythm, brought to you by the United Progressive Party. The right choice.
I just feel like people not understand me. I don't want to even give me a chance. Go to school, my hard skill. I'm a hard worker, but there's just not enough jobs out there. The economy is so bad that I'm ashamed to say that we're in the year 2022 and water hardly one near the pipe. Now them can't tell how we, in order to get a job, I must take the job. I understand the vaccine is a good thing and all that, but I just hate the fact that it's mandated. It's my body, it's my choice. I shouldn't be denied a job, education or benefits because the choices I make for my body. For me, this time, personally, the UPP is the right choice because they are the party of choice.
Today in Antigua, people say must be a vampire. But we suck the treasure in, kill it dry, big and fat, never satisfied. Rolling day and night, biting everything inside. That's why we must stop the bloodsucker, awful and wicked monster. Cause it's sucking the young girls' virtue, even the young men too. The lifeblood of this nation, but his thirst goes on and on and on and on. But now we facing the end, so you luck and not rise again. Baldwin, Spencer and Tim, I redeemer looking for him. Get your stake, so you luck going to meet his fate. Well, they bring to Antigua a tiny bloodsucker. Cause
birds of a feather, they flock together. He announced a great desire to build a vampire empire, 2,000 acres of land to the blood-sucking shiny man. That's why we must stop the bloodsucker, awful and wicked monster. Well, he's sucking the young girl's virtue, even the young men too. The lifeblood of this nation, but this thirst goes on and on and on and on. But now we facing the end, lucky luck cannot rise again. Ball with Spencer and Tim, I redeemer looking for him. Get your stake, lucky luck going to meet his day. No retreat, no surrender. Well, he drunk with blood money, have no mercy. More he drink, more he get thirsty. So he get with a certain whip Stanford, cook up a plan how to get some blood. Build a big hospital, put the blood bank at his disposal. That's why we must stop the bloodsucker, awful and wicked monster. Well, he's sucking the young girl's virtue, even the young men too. The lifeblood of this nation, but his thirst goes on and on and on and on. But now we facing the end, Dracula cannot rise again. Cause Baldwin, Spencer and Tim, I redeemer looking for him. Get your stake, Dracula going to meet his fate. No retreat, no surrender. Nice so. Do die. Get your stake. Dracula going to meet his fate. Get your stake. Dracula going to meet his fate.
Welcome back to The Right Choice. We're speaking with the political leader of the United Progressive Party. And can I say, I Redeemer? I mean, we enjoyed that song. This is the first time I'm actually listening to the entire song. And you are a talented calypsonian. While we're talking about that, and you're
well, I mean, even though you're saying so, remember my claim to fame, you know who beat me? Scorpion. Zachary. And I tied with Douglas.
So there's big names. So you're in the big leagues. That's right. And even with your involvement in Steve singing calypso, you also were involved with Superstars.
That's correct.
And you're very much a cultural aficionado.
I started with Superstars when I was at the grammar school. You know, Superstars moved from Bishopgate Street up to the grammar school. And at that time, we were called the AGS Superstars.
Right.
But before that, it was the BPL Superstars, British Paints Limited. They were the sponsors of Superstars. And when they moved up to the grammar school, then it was called the AGS Superstars. And I stayed with Superstars through those years. And we won a championship in, I think it was 1973. That we won the championship. I hate to say, I think it's the first and only time. But I think we won sometime after.
I didn't want to say it.
But we won it then. And then I went up to Jamaica, where I was studying. And I played, as I indicated earlier, in the steel band there. But guess what? I was a six-bass player. I used to play six bass in Superstars in Antigua. And when I went up to Jamaica, I also used to play six bass.
Yes.
But in my final year, the drummer, a guy by the name of Kevin, can't remember his surname now, Kevin Chin, I think it was, Chinese-looking guy. Anyway, he went back to Trinidad. They didn't have any drummer. Man, I carried the band as a drummer for a whole year.
This
Trap
man,
set, the whole
this
thing.
man is multi-talented.
The cymbals, the traps, the whole works, man.
Yes.
But it's not easy. You see people drumming, I have great respect for drummers. Because sometimes, I remember we went to play out one night. It was the Trinidad representative in Jamaica having his All Year's Night party. So they didn't have a lot of steel bands in Jamaica. So we were playing that night. And I don't know what happened. Maybe I had too much wine or whatever I was drinking. And the tempo just kept dropping. So you can imagine, because you're the drummer, you kind of sit towards the back of the band.
Right.
Man, the tenor man looking back at me, the guitar fan man looking by, you don't want to ask what's happening.
Yes.
You know, and we also played, I remember, when the Commonwealth had the conference in Jamaica, the Commonwealth Heads of Government Conference, that was held at Jamaica House. And we were the featured steel band then, you know, and that was also a fantastic experience.
Right. But apart from your involvement in Calypso, in Pan, in culture, you have also been like a shepherd for the young men and women of your constituency in terms of sports, supporting them with football, with basketball, with cricket. Tell us about your involvement with the athletes, the sportsmen and women in your area.
Let me say, the cricket has never been a big thing for us in City East. We had a softball team at one time, but basketball and football.
Yes.
And let me start with basketball, because that's where, when I came back to Antigua, we started with the basketball team. There was a group known as Fab Five. And then it went out into, you know, it expanded and became the Rockersville basketball team. Just want to give a, you know, note of remembrance for Samuel Brazier. He died about 2 years ago, young man, 41 years old. But he was like my right hand with the basketball team. He was player, he was coach, he was captain, you know, great young man, gone to the great beyond. We really miss him. So with basketball, I have been associated since 1993. I've never put my name as such on the team jerseys, but I've been the main sponsor. I've pretty much carried the team, and I'm so happy. You know, you see the young men coming through. Many of them I see now working in APA, and we all have something in common.
Yes.
Similarly with the football team, I remember we started the Fort Road Football League in 1993, and we brought together teams from Green Bay. We had Empire came, teams from other areas in the country, from St. Johnson's Village, North Shore, etc. We had some good teams then, and from 1993 to present, I'm the president of the Fort Road Football Club. Some people say president for life.
President for life.
I wouldn't put it that way, but I have been there from since 1993. I think that gives us how many years? Something like 20, almost 28 years.
Yes.
Something like that I've been the president. And I feel very happy that I've been able to keep the team in the league since then. We've never, ever dropped out. A lot of the teams that we started out with in 1993, you know, they've gone by the wayside. But I make sure they have their uniforms, I make sure the field is prepared, I make sure that whatever needs to be done, if we need a coach, that the coach is there, the coach is given his stipend, and those things, because I see the importance of developing young talent. There's so many people who have that talent, and you never know who is going to be the one who's going to make the big time. And so a lot of the young guys, you know, they don't have boots, they don't have playing kits, whether it be shin guards or whatever. And so I have a relationship with one of the suppliers in St. John's, and so I would make my payments on a monthly basis, but the guys know that once they're in need, I make sure that that's my contribution. You could say like that's my charity.
Yes.
I don't think about it, I do what has to be done, because I want to make sure that the young men of St. John's City East, that they can develop their skills, they can develop their talent, and they can go on to bigger things. So that's an area that I feel very, very happy about in terms of the involvement over the years. And I must say that I was recognized recently by the Antigua and Barbuda Football Association You know, they have some pictures at their headquarters.
Yes.
So they came to me for a portrait picture. And so my picture is one of those hanging up at the headquarters. So feel kind of good about that.
Yes, very, very good. But the fact that you have been president for life for that club speaks to your commitment. And that is important as a constituency representative, your commitment to the people of that community.
Oh, yes. I mean, Fort Road, Gambles, that's family. City East. Because, you know, even when I lost in 2014, a lot of persons said to me, you know, if I intend to continue, I should go to another constituency. I should try somewhere else. But, you know, I thought long and hard about it. But as I said, City East is family. That's where my love is. The people, I've been with them for the last how many years, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
That's where you grew up? That's where your office is?
I'm telling you, you know, that's it. And as I say to them, you know, I'm like a full-on lover, you know, where I love the people, I love the community. They didn't vote me in 2014 and 2018, and I'm still here. You know, I'm like that man who loves this woman so badly that she turns she back when she tell him she don't want it, and he still come back. That's me.
And she take him back.
And she gonna take him back.
Exactly.
She gonna take him back.
Now, I want to talk a little, because we haven't spoken about your legal career. And you have had quite a distinguished legal career. You have gone with some landmark cases all the way to the Privy Council. So can you remember any of your major cases as an attorney at law?
Yeah, I would think of three. I can think of three that I might want to mention, because those are three that are quite important to me. There are others that, you know, I've done that, you know, were important to the clients, obviously, and I don't diminish the importance of those in any way. But I would say the Observer case, because I can remember the day when Winston and Fergie Derrick came into the office, and Sidney Christian, rest in peace, he called me in, and he said, you know, he wants me to be involved with him on this particular case. And so we discussed it, and I have to say one thing about Winston Derrick. You know, they say not every trained lawyer is really a lawyer, but you have a lot of real lawyers who are not trained. Winston Derrick is one of those people. He has a natural knack for that kind of stuff.
Bush lawyer?
So he came in and he explained what the problem was.
Yes.
And it was a case where they were trying to get a license in order to operate a radio station. And the telecommunications officer at the time kept, as you can say, jerking them around. Just delay, and it was just very difficult. And so we decided to take the matter to court. We went to the court, and at first instance, we had Justice Benjamin. He ruled against us. We went to the Court of Appeal, and you had a panel at that time headed by Justice Redhead. They ruled against us. Decided we're going to go all the way to the Privy Council, and this time we also brought on board the services of Jeffrey Robinson, who at that time was known as the Silver
Fox.
And that has been one of the best experiences I've had in my career, working alongside him. And this matter went to the Privy Council, and I was very pleased because I was involved. I did all the research, and so I was very involved in it, and I did the advocacy also, especially at the Court of Appeal, and so I felt very confident in what we were doing. And we were successful.
Yeah.
And as the Privy Council said in their judgment, the government of Antigua and Barbuda, they lost comprehensively on every point. Every point. By the way, the lawyer representing the government was Mr. Astafan, Tony Astafan. He represented the government in that case, and they were resoundingly defeated. So that was the Observer case, and that's a very important case.
Yes, because it paved the way for freedom of the press.
Up to that time, right? That was 1998, 99, going up to 2001. Yeah. The decision, I think, was in 2001, 2002, thereabouts. Anyway, up to that time, you had ZDK, which was owned by the Bird family. You had ABS Radio, which was owned by the government, which was headed by V.C. Bird and then Lester Bird. And you had Radio Paradise, I think it was.
Radio Lighthouse.
Radio Lighthouse. Those were the 3 stations operating in Antigua. Nobody else could get a chance to put a station on the airwaves. And after that case, you had a flood of radio stations coming on board. And then we came into office shortly after that, and we granted a large number of licenses. I think they say today now we have some like 35 FM stations operating. That was a very, very important and signal moment insofar as radio broadcasting is concerned. Another case that I feel pretty good about is the case I did with King Franchi, the case of Franklin Francis versus the Attorney General. And you know, the background to that case is that at that time, if you were caught even with the smallest amount of marijuana, a minimum fine of $5,000. Minimum. That's where you start. You go up from there. So a lot of people ended up in prison because they didn't have the $5,000.
Right.
So with that situation, one day, the King was coming down Factory Road, just opposite the fire station. And this officer saw the King coming down and rushed out at him, you know, grabbed him, and you know, he's not too fat. So grabbed him, searched him, and of course, there was the sacrament. So they took him down to the police station and they charged him. And he came to see me on the case. And we decided, first of all, he didn't have the $5,000. So we realized this is going to be a tricky one. And we decided we're going to challenge it constitutionally on the freedom of religion clause under the Constitution. And that's what we did. And there were 2 limbs to the case. The first one, the recognition of Rastafari as a religion, because you had to first establish that it is a religion.
That's right.
Then once you've established that it is a religion, then the next limb is the smoking or the use of cannabis justifiable as a legitimate part of the religious practice? We did not win on that second limb. However, that was a time when I think attitudes were very different, because I believe if that case were to come today, it would be a completely different type of approach that the courts would take. But that case went very well in the sense that it was the first case, not just in Antigua or the Caribbean, in the world, that established that Rastafari is a religion. That's the definitive case in the world that establishes that Rastafari is a religion. So I feel pretty good about that as well, even though we didn't get everything that we wanted. The third one, and that case I did with Lord Tony Gifford, Anthony Gifford. He's a Queen's Counsel. He's British, but he also practices in Jamaica. The third case was the case that I did with Jerry Watt. And that case now was Baldwin Spencer versus the Attorney General and the Minister of Information. That came about in 1994. We were about to have what we called our first big rally in January 1994, because elections were going to be held that year. And the UPP had just been formed in 1993. And they hadn't gotten out of the bad habits of keeping everybody, because remember, in Antigua was a place where nobody could get on that TV, you know. Nobody could get on that TV unless you were pro-government. In fact, just remind me to give you a little bit to show you how bad it was then. I'll come to that.
I know firsthand, Harold.
Okay, of course, you're in the system. Look, so we wanted to advertise the rally that we were going to have on, I think it was January the 7th, 1994. Nat Moses did the advert. And they had some people at ABS at the time. And they decided, no way, UPP is not coming on this TV station. And we decided we're going to challenge it. And we challenged it in the name of the leader of the opposition at the time, the Honorable Baldwin Spencer. And so Jerry Watt was lead counsel in that particular case. And Mr. Redhead, Justice Redhead, he was the judge. And he ruled, using a case out of Trinidad, Rampasad, that the leader of the opposition has the unfettered right to go on the state-owned radio station, TV station.
Yeah.
And so that as well opened the door as far as access to the television station is concerned. And so we, went through the whole process. The lawyer in that case, incidentally, was also Tony Astafan. And he was representing the government trying to stop us from going on the radio, just like he represented the government trying to stop Observer from getting a license.
Wow. Wow. Well,
but there was something I wanted to mention.
Yes,
if you allow
please,
me
go
to
ahead. Go ahead before we
No,
take a break.
in terms of how the TV station was controlled, right?
Yes.
When I started doing my law studies, it was under what was known then as the Challenge Exam Program. Now, the Challenge Exam Program is a program whereby you can do the first year, and if you like it, then there may be ways that you can go further. So, Dr. Idris Bird, bless her soul, rest in peace, she used to run a program called, oh Lord, what is it called? Anyway, she had a program on Sundays. Sunday afternoon at 6 o'clock, she used to have a program that she would invite people to come and discuss and so on. And so she invited me, she invited Aubrey Webson, who is now at the United Nations.
Ambassador.
Because he also, Ambassador Aubrey Webson, he started the program at the same time, as well as Jackie Walwyn was also part of the program. Conrad Luke was part of the program. We were the main ones who were in that program. And so we went up to discuss the program, on this program. We didn't involve any politics, no politics at all. And the then Prime Minister, Sir Viv Cornwall Bird, 2 or 3 weeks after that happened, I think it might have been the week after, 2 weeks after, at the Trades and Labor Union conference, he said, hey, Lovell was on our TV. Harold Lovell, and yes, our TV.
Our TV.
He said, not on our TV, not on our TV. And he then sent a directive, or the cabinet sent a directive to Dr. Idris Bird and said to her that before anybody can go on this program, she must send the list of the guests to the cabinet, and the cabinet will approve who is to go on her program. And to this day, I have great respect for Dr. Idris Bird. She said no, and that was it. And that was the end of that program, because she refused that blatant act of censorship, and she stood her ground on a matter of principle. And that's Dr. Idris Bird. And that was the end of the program.
Wow. So you have been involved in some major legal judgments, some major landmark cases, touching on freedom of the press, touching on freedom of religion, the case with King Frankai, and certainly access to state-owned media. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come right back and continue our discussion with Brother Harold Lovell, the leader of the United Progressive Party, their constituency.
Common Ground. That was the name of the program.
Common Ground. Common Ground. Those persons who are historians and making a record, Common Ground. We're going to come right back. Please remember to send in your comments, your questions, because we're going to take those towards the end of the program. If he can answer a couple of those questions, and certainly your comments, we are going to entertain them. You're watching The Right Choice.
Ready? Are you ready? Beautiful people, are you ready to get off your feet and release that blue energy? We'll move to the front of the class and throw your hands up in the air for The Right Rhythm. The Right Rhythm, a weekly musical experience featuring Antigua and Barbuda's top DJs. 2 hours of musical entertainment every Friday night from 8 p.m. on UPP, YouTube TV, and streamed live on all media platforms, as well as Progressive 107.3 FM. It's The Right Rhythm, brought to you by the United Progressive Party. The right choice.
just feel like people not understand me. I don't want even give me a chance. Go school, I have skill. I'm a hard worker, but there's just not enough jobs out there. The economy is so bad that I'm ashamed to say that we're in the year 2022 and water hardly one near the pipe. Now them can't tell how we, in order to get a job, I must take the job. I understand the vaccine is a good thing and all that, but I just hate the fact that it's mandated. It's my body, it's my choice. I shouldn't be denied a job, education or benefits because the choices I make for my body. For me, this time, personally, the UPP is the right choice because they are the party of choice.
Right choice. We are speaking with the political leader of the United Progressive Party, Brother Harold Lovell, Esquire. He is the candidate for the St. John's City East constituency, and he, of course, is poised to be the next Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda. Now, let's talk a little about some national issues. And the first topical issue that's has been in the press for quite some time, the shocking issue of the Ukraine-Russian war. And this war, of course, is a threat to democracy across the world, even in our small nation of Antigua and Barbuda. What are your thoughts, Brother Lovell, on how it has unfolded and the response from Western leaders?
The actions by the President of the Russian Federation those actions, they have triggered responses which, in my view, will lead ultimately to several consequences which will impact us quite severely. Now, I'm speaking about the sanctions. I would just say briefly, just for the record, that I do not accept the justification that has been given by the President of the Russian Federation. I believe that the established avenues for peaceful conflict resolution ought to have been utilized, notwithstanding the security concerns of the president of that nation. It cannot, in my view, be justifiable for him to have sent his tanks and his troops into Ukraine. Now, the response of the nations that have responded, and I have looked at the voting pattern at the United Nations. I think you had something like maybe, I think it was about 7 or 8 nations who voted no.
Yes.
You had, I think, 35 who abstained.
Abstained, yes.
And then all the others. So I think you can safely say there has been overwhelming global condemnation of what has happened. The response now is one that has, first of all, we saw the price of oil going up to over $100 a barrel. The likely forecast is that oil will soon hit $120 a barrel. We know what that means. The price of everything will be impacted. Also, the types of minerals and ores and precious metals that they get from Russia, the European nations get from Russia, those will no longer be available. And there's talk now about a possible recession within the European Union. Mm-hmm. And that will obviously have a knock-on effect. So for vulnerable countries like Antigua and Barbuda, we will be negatively impacted. We're going to see increases in prices. But I want to say that as far as we are concerned, there can be no justification for any increase in the price of fuel at the pump. When we were in office, the price of fuel went up to $150, and we were able to sustain a reasonable price and cushion the blow for the people of this country. And we cannot take any more. And I'm saying that this administration would be ill-advised to go down that road. They must understand that the people can simply take no more. And therefore, I'm saying it's going to be a period where we have to understand that the impact of this war is likely to have some other indirect effects with the price of goods coming into Antigua at the shop fronts and so on. And here's where we would say that the proposals that we have put for reducing import duties on essential food items and food-related items, that will become more important now, because we'll have to make certain that the ordinary man and woman, that they're not the ones who are going to feel the brunt of this pressure. The purpose of government is to look after the welfare of its people.
Right.
And therefore, we expect that the government will look after the welfare of the people. But if the election comes soon, hopefully, the United Progressive Party will be able to steer the ship of state in a manner that will minimize the impact and effects of the sanctions that have been placed on the Russian Federation.
Now, you served as finance minister during the period 2009 to 2014, and you served at a time when we faced the worst global economic crisis. What are some of your proudest achievements during that period?
That we were able to keep the country afloat, keep things moving, that we kept all our workers employed within the government sector, that the social programs which we had introduced and which had been designed to help those who were most in need, those who were most vulnerable, namely the elderly, the handicapped, those who were earning incomes that were below a certain threshold. Those programs all stayed on the books and continued to be implemented by the government even during this very difficult period. I'm happy that we used a number of strategies which I think work. For example, the strategy of consultation. The Construct Antigua and Barbuda initiative was one such strategy where we brought together a group of persons within the private sector. And I chaired that meeting, and we had representatives from the hardware stores, we had attorneys, we had the banks, we had persons generally from the business community. And out of that process of consultation, listening, we came up with the Construct Antigua and Barbuda initiative. CABI. And I'm very happy that program has contributed, certainly between 2011, when it was introduced, and 2014, up to then, when we took a stock, it was almost $300 million that had been pumped into the economy of Antigua and Barbuda. As a result of that, we were able to reduce the cost of residential construction, people building their homes, by up to 30%. And in doing so, it provided a stimulus to the economy. So it was win-win all around, where the government gave up taxes, the hardware stores reduced their prices, the banks adjusted their interest rates, the insurance companies cut down on some of their fees, etc. And ultimately, it was win-win for everybody, and it served as an economic stimulus. I think that is something I feel very, very happy that, because I saw that from the inception, from the time the idea was conceived, right up to the point when it was implemented. We gave it to the Investment Authority to implement, and to this day, it continues. and I heard the Prime Minister say in his budget address that for 2021 they had 118 applications under the CABI program. So it's a good program, and I'm very happy that I was integrally involved in initiating that program. I also feel good about a program that we brought in called the EACH program. That's the Enterprise Challenge, Enterprise Achievement Challenge. And in that program, we trained a lot of young people in various skills: upholstery, in carpentry, in designing, interior designing, in a variety of skills and a variety of trades. And that program also did very well. Unfortunately, it was stopped in 2014. And then another program that we had was the LEAP program. And again, that was done in my ministry. And I feel very happy that we were able to fast track several young people into senior positions within the civil service, because the LEAP program is the Leadership Through Excellence Award program. And in that program, we advertised and we got like a cohort of, say, 30 young people. And with those persons, they went through training, and some would go, for example, to the Treasury, some went to Inland Revenue, some went to the police headquarters, different government departments. And then out of that cohort, we selected the best 3. And those 3 were guaranteed employment immediately in the public sector, cutting through all the red tape and taking up senior positions. The current representative from the OECS in Morocco is a graduate of that particular program that we initiated.
Young Williams.
That's correct. And he was one who came through that program, and he was one of the 3 selected. But I think perhaps the thing that I feel proudest of wasn't in finance, it was in tourism. And it had to do with our small hotel development program, which came under the Cricket World Cup Incentives Act. And we were able to get over 40 small hotel properties developed, inns and small, as I said, small hotels and
fact,
guest
you
houses.
piloted that bill in
I
Parliament.
piloted that bill in Parliament as Minister of Tourism. And all of those properties are there for all to see. Persons have diversified. Some of them, they have medical students living there. Some are short-term rentals. Others, and this one is in my constituency, I'm so proud of her, Consuela Biza.
Yes.
She was one who took advantage of that program. And she started with 1 block, and then she expanded, and she's just doing so many good things. And so that, I feel very good. It was something that certainly would have assisted in helping a young entrepreneur in Antigua along those lines. So those things, I can say that I feel that they contributed to the welfare and well-being, mainly of young people, whether it be in entrepreneurship or helping them along the way to develop their skills and their craft.
And also, you didn't mention, I don't know if you're being modest, the Social Security, keeping Social Security afloat, and also increasing the pensions.
Right. The pensions were increased for government workers.
Yes.
Social Security, we were able to hold Social Security and reverse the negative trend. But that started with my predecessor, Dr. Court.
Right.
He was the Minister of Finance and addressed many of the issues. When I took over in 2010, we were able to bring everything to book. And in bringing everything to book, we not allocated, it all came up to $550 million. And of that $550 million, the vast majority came from the 28 years when the Labour Party was in office. That they were in government for 28 years and paid nothing into the Social Security scheme, which literally put the scheme on the rocks and threatened its very viability. Bringing that together and creating a bond whereby we treated it as a loan for $550 million. And we agreed that over a 20-year period, we would repay that. And at the same time, we would make the current payments. So you would make the payments periodically, like on a quarterly basis, and repay all that money for the 28 years that had not been paid in. And at the same time, we would make the current payments and move forward. So that in itself was a significant achievement. And I have to say that the persons who worked with me, both in the Ministry of Tourism and in the Ministry of Finance, young, talented Antiguans and Barbudans, I am so happy, so proud of those technical people that I worked with, because it goes to show the type of talent that we have in this country, provided they're given the opportunity to shine. We attended meetings in Washington, D.C. with the IMF, with the World Bank, and negotiations generally. And I can say that we have persons who were able to hold their own with some of the top economists in the world and to give me good, sound advice. And in saying that, again, I have to recognize the immense assistance that I got from Sir K. Dwight Venner. I hold him in extraordinarily high esteem. Again, may his soul rest in peace. But he, in my view, was a casualty of the global economic crisis. He used to say that in all the years that he had been governor of the central bank, nothing brought as much stress to him as the global economic crisis.
Yes.
And, you know, he retired, I think it was about 2014, 2015, and within a matter of a year or two, the Almighty took him away from us. But he's someone, to me, who's like a national hero of the Eastern Caribbean, a great man.
Okay. We're going to take, as we sort of wind down the program, I want to get in a few of the comments and questions that we are seeing on our social media platforms. I'm going to try to get in as many as possible. Let's see. Good night, Captain. You did it before, and with God's help, you will do it again. I Redeemer. That's somebody endorsing your, your Calypso skills. Somebody else says, why was UPP voted out? I think persons would have voted against their own interest. Great interview, Captain. Let's see. Let's go down the line. Let's go down the line. The man know about development. He don't know about exploitation. He know about love of people. He don't know how to belittle and demoralize people. That is the man. Somebody else is saying, please send your comments. What is your stance on mandatory COVID vaccination, and what do you think about the disparate, possibly segregating treatment between vaccinated and unvaccinated citizens? So you can think about that. Let's try and get a couple more. A true gentleman, the captain embodies community and country pride. We need him as PM, the right choice. I am so ashamed from what I'm getting from Social Security, not even $405 after 17 years of service in the government. Yes. Okay. So, Brother Lovell, you want to answer that?
Which one?
That's the one that asks your stance on the disparate treatment between vaccinated and unvaccinated.
Right.
Yes, you're going to answer that, but I'm just trying to get in as many. When you challenge Harold Lovell's decision to serve, I ask, were you there when he was a youth activist, a cultural man, a pan man, a president sitting at the bar, sitting barrister, a community mobilizer, a public policy planner, a national economy manager, a visionary, a youth leader? Were you and your family there? No? Well, hush. Listen and appreciate a true leader and a gentleman.
Well,
okay, that's a great endorsement. It seems like somebody from City East, actually. If
well, don't matter call the name.
No, I'm not going to call the name. I'm not going to call the name at all. Okay, let's see. I know that people want to hear their comments. Let's go. Mr. Lovell, when you win, some creative development is needed for Antiguans and Barbudans heading retirement age to return home to bring new funds. And a young person says, that's my PM as a young man. And another person says, this just came in, a statesman, Harold Lovell, the right choice. The Redeemed team, the right choice. So if you can just take that question that was posed about the disparate treatment between...
Yes, quickly, I would just say that the way the world is moving away from that type of treatment.
Yes.
The world is moving away from segregation and moving more towards normalization. And I expect that under UPP administration, we will fall in line and in step with the modern trend, which is to treat everybody in a way that everybody is advised to follow the protocols, be very careful, but cut out the segregation.
Now, as we wind down this program, because the time has really gone by so quickly, I mean, I feel as though I was sitting at the feet of Gamaliel, learning so much from you, Brother Lovell. No, yes, I do feel as though I was learning a lot. Look into the camera, sir. Speak to your constituents. Speak to your candidates. Speak to the nation of Antigua and Barbuda and tell them why you, Harold Lovell, are the right choice.
The nation, the candidates, and the constituents.
Constituency. Yes.
To Antigua and Barbuda, I say, I've served in several capacities of government. I've served as Minister of Tourism, Civil Aviation, Culture, Trade, Foreign Affairs, Finance, the Economy, Public Administration, Public Information, Environment, and Culture. I have a pretty good idea of how government works. For the 10 years that I served in government, I acquired a good working knowledge of the civil service and what it takes to get things done. I have the temperament, because today what Antigua needs is a leader who will listen, a leader who will understand that throughout this nation, the young people, the business people, people of all walks of life, the tradesmen, the nurses, the teachers, all have a story to tell and all have a contribution to make. And my approach is to listen and to learn. I would be the right choice also because I'm passionate about people and I'm passionate about making things better for people. I've done it all my life. I didn't get into politics to see how I could become rich. I didn't get into politics because I was hoping that I would bingo and my break would come in politics. I came into politics to serve, to fight for people, and to do justice and to do right. So for the nation of Antigua and Barbuda, in summary, I would say I have the experience, I have the qualifications, and I'm passionate about people and I'm passionate about my nation. To the candidates, I say, we have a great team, the Redeemed team. I'm so proud to be the leader of this wonderful team, this wonderful group of men and women, all committed to service, all who have thrown their lot in with the United Progressive Party, and persons who have already demonstrated and displayed that they, in their respective constituencies, are the right choice. I say further, to the constituents of St. John City East, that yes, I am the right choice for St. John City East. I'm the right choice simply because I love the people in City East. They're my people. I don't come to City East looking fame or favor. I come to City East simply to give as much love as I can and to serve as best I can. I want to see City East transformed so that everyone in the community who wants a job can get a good job. Everyone who wants to develop a business can get the type of assistance that we would offer so that they can become successful in business. I want a clean community. I want a community that is safe. I want a community where our children can run around, can excel, and where they can genuinely feel proud and happy to be in this nation called Antigua and Barbuda and to be part of the City East community. I am the right choice to deliver that for the people of St. John City East. And so to the nation, to my candidates, my colleague candidates, and to the constituents of St. John City East, I am the right choice.
Well, we want to thank you most sincerely, Brother Lovell, for speaking with us and opening up and sharing your thoughts, a little about your legal life, your youth, your activism, the energy and commitment to the constituency, and certainly the statesmanship that you bring to leadership in Antigua and Barbuda. We've been speaking with the political leader of the United Progressive Party, Brother Harold Lovell, Esquire. He is also the candidate for the St. John's City East constituency, and he is certainly poised to be the next Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda once the general elections are called. Next week, we are going to have on The Right Choice, Brother Sean Bird. He is, of course, poised to be my representative in the St. John's Rural East constituency, and Brother Alistair Thomas, the candidate and standard bearer for the City West constituency. So join us again next week, for same time, same place, UPP TV, for The Right Choice. I'm Jackie Quinn. Have a good night.
My father died when I was just 5 years old. My mother came from Willikie's village. She had 5 young mouths to feed, and she toiled on her sewing machine to make ends meet. She was a strong woman who taught us right from wrong. And even though she struggled, the choices she made put us on the right path. I made the choice to work hard, play by the rules, and get an education. I had a number of opportunities, but I chose to return to Antigua and inspire the next generation. I taught at the Antigua Grammar School, and it's here that I saw firsthand how education transforms lives. I made the choice to get into politics because of the lack of resources that I saw in our schools. I saw how our teachers and families struggled, whilst an elite few got ahead. When the people granted us the opportunity to serve in government, we had a lot of work to do. As Minister of Finance, I helped to clean up the rot of 30 years of one-party rule. We saw our country through the global financial crisis and the Stanford collapse. Through all of that, we introduced the school meals program, the school uniform program, and laptops for children. While we were not perfect, no one is perfect but Almighty God. We worked day in and day out to defend the nation and put people first. Today I see too many families struggling for a lack of jobs and the mental stress that comes with it. The cost of living is out of control, and for too many of us, water is still not readily available. And our needed pension checks are not coming on time. While the elite few did well, the ABLP denied you the right to choose what you put in your body. Whilst we believe in vaccines, we don't believe it's the responsibility of government to control your bodies. We will bring an end to all the mandates. This election is about choice, And we believe that we are the right choice because we give you the choice.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Beautiful people, are you ready to get off your feet and release that blue energy? We'll move to the front of the class and throw your hands up in the air for The Right Rhythm. The Right Rhythm, a weekly musical experience featuring Antigua and Barbuda's top DJs. 2 hours of musical entertainment every Friday night from 8 p.m. on UPP, YouTube TV, and streamed live on all media platforms, as well as Progressive 107.3 FM. It's The Right Rhythm, brought to you by the United Progressive Party. The right choice.
It's time to join the family at the People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. We offer savings accounts, deposits, fixed deposits, loans, among other related services. You can even become a shareholder by purchasing a minimum of 50 shares at $5 per share. Membership is super easy and convenient. Just visit our newly opened credit union building on Upper Newgate Street, Monday to Fridays, 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. with proof of ID and address, along with $15 to cover registration and passbook. And you'll be set and on your way. For further information, call 462-8888 or 727-2285. People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Today, tomorrow, together.